Welcome to Lesson 3 on the Legislative Branch. In this session, we're going to talk about how a bill becomes a law. Riveting stuff. Your objectives for this lesson are first that you should be able to explain the legislative process. And also, I want you to analyze why is this process so stinking complex? Why are there so many steps that are taken in order for a bill to become a law? So, let's talk about step one. A bill, before it's a bill, is an idea. It's an idea for a law. You saw in the I'm Just a Bill movie, it was, people thinking that, hey, it's messed up that school buses aren't stopping at railroad crossings. So they wrote their congressman. It could come from the constituents or the people that a congressman, a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives, represents. But in 2015, ideas from laws come from varying places. Lobbyists are groups of people who represent different special interest groups who try to get members of Congress to pass laws in a specific area. For example, the NRA tries to get the government to pass laws that get rid of gun restrictions, and people like the Brady campaign try to get the government to pass laws that are more restrictive on guns. So you have different groups that represent areas of interest like business or the environment that try to get the government to pass laws in those areas. Next, the media, the news, movies, what's going on in social media, and general society. What is the consensus? What is the feeling from the public? Are all places where our members of Congress get ideas for their laws. Next, once that idea has been planted as a seed, it starts to grow in a bill. In order for it to become a bill, it needs a sponsor. It needs a member of Congress, a senator or a representative, to say, hey, we should make this into a law. They type up the proposal for a law. They try to get as many other members of Congress to co-sponsor with them, to put their names on it, and agree basically to fight or advocate for this law. Before it becomes a law, when it's just a proposal that is being debated and argued, it is a bill. Hence the cute song, I'm Just a Bill. Now, in order for bill to become a law, lots of things have to happen to bill. Bill first gets sent to committee. In committee, the bill will be debated, argued about. It might be hacked up, added to, basically going through plastic surgery. By the time a bill gets through committee, it's like a Franken bill. Not the original version of it. It's been added, cut up, deleted, and it might be very different. But usually the essence or main idea behind it still remains. What are congressional committees, you might be asking yourself? Well, thankfully I have an answer for you. Congressional committees are found in each chamber. These committees are responsible for debating bills related to specific areas of interest for the government. So, for example, you might have the Appropriations Committee or the Ways and Means Committee that deal with bills on how we're going to tax and collect and spend our tax money. You would have the Armed Forces Committees that deals with military law. The Intelligence Committee that deals with intelligence law, meaning the CIA, how we collect information. The Education Committees deal with laws on education. Makes sense? Now, members of Congress are assigned to a committee based off of their qualifications and based off of the areas that they represent. So, say, for example, if I were to run for Congress, being a teacher as my background, it would make sense for me to serve in the Education and Workforce Committee. Whereas if I live in an area like New Jersey and I'm representing New Jersey in the Senate that has a lot of transportation concerns, multiple airports, major interstate highways, trains, ports, so on and so forth for boats, all these are major transportation issues. Because my area that I represent deals with transportation, it would make sense for me to serve on the Transportation Committee. Just like a congressman that serves from an area that has lots of farms, makes sense for them to be on the agricultural committee. Makes sense? So based off of your background, based off of where you are from, is what your committee is. Once it gets through a committee vote and it has been amended and added and changed, then it goes to the leader of that chamber, either the Speaker of the House or the Senate Majority Leader, and they decide whether or not to bring it to a chamber vote. If the Speaker or the Majority Leader doesn't bring this bill up for on there, put it on the agenda, bill's dead. If the bill doesn't get through committee, the bill's been killed. There's lots of things that can kill that bill. But if the leader lets it go through, it then comes to a chamber vote. Then it goes through everything it went through in committee all over again. It's debated, it's argued, it might be amended, added to, subtracted from. Once again, Frankenbill goes through the experimental process of making everyone, as many people, happy that will be willing to vote for it possible. Now, once again, it's very rare you're going to get everyone to vote for it. There's always going to be people that disagree. The goal for the people who sponsor it is to get a majority. To get a majority. More than 51% of the chamber to vote for it, so that way it gets passed through. Now, let's say it starts in the House of Representatives, passes through the House of Representatives, that's great, but it still has to pass through the Senate. If a bill gets put through the House and hasn't gone through the Senate, it gets subject to referral, meaning that the bill is now sent to the other chamber, and the cycle starts all over again. Just because it got through the House doesn't mean it's getting through the Senate, or vice versa. It may die in committee in the Senate. It may never come up for a vote in the Senate, even though a vast majority voted for it in the House. If a bill goes through both the Senate and the House, the Senate and the House versions of the bill might be very different from one another. So that means they need to meet together and come up with a final version. This is called the Conference Committee. Once again, the Senate has their own Frankenbill. The House has their own version of Frankenbill. And now they need to amalgamate, combine the both of them together to make one final Frankenbill. Once again, these could be vastly different from that original idea way back in step 2 that was sponsored. Because the bills have been changed or added to, both chambers get to re-vote again. So it could have been passed by the House the first time, but after a committee, the Conference Committee, it could get voted down in the House. Once again, many ways to kill bill. But once it gets through both chambers, yay! Is it a law now? No. The executive branch still gets the final say. It goes to the president. Now, El Presidente, the president has a lot of choices of what they can do with this bill. They might look at the bill and say, hey, I like this bill. This bill's a great idea. Grab their pen, sign the bill, and congratulations, Bill, Frankenbill, whatever you want to call Bill. Bill is now a law. Golf clap for Bill. However, the president might look at Bill and go, yo, I don't like Bill. I don't like the look of this bill. I disagree with this bill. I think it's wrong. And that's when the president calls in what I like to refer to as the president's bouncer, their bodyguard, veto. The president calls over and veto and says, hey, veto, I don't like the look of this bill. Get him out of here. And veto is the presidential power to reject a bill, to cancel it out. So the president killed the bill. The bill goes back to Congress. Now, the bill's been killed, but it's not entirely dead. It's kind of like a vampire at this point. So instead now, once the president has vetoed it, it goes back to Congress, and Congress can re-vote on the bill. If 2/3 of the Congress vote in favor of the bill, that's 66%, Congress can override a presidential veto. Now, this does not happen often. Getting 66% of the members of Congress to agree on anything is difficult. much less to override a presidential veto when you have party politics that come into play. It is very difficult to do. So even though the Congress has the power to override a veto, they don't exert that power often. So that leads us to our question. The lawmaking process, as you've seen, is really complex. Why do you think that the founders designed a system that have so many steps? Why are there so many ways that a bill can get killed before it becomes a law? Why do they make it so difficult for a bill to become a law? I want you to think on it, write out your reasons, and you'll be done with Lesson 3 and Question 3. Thanks for watching, and have an awesome day.